Hello YouTube and welcome back to another crafting lesson. I'm actually going to be crafting two different endgame gloves in this one. One would be a flat damage, socket effect, crit damage glove for all the Deadeyes or Monk players, and the other will be a full triple defense prefixes, resistances, and socket effect for those who don't want flat damage. Everything is timestamped, so if you're only interested in one of those two crafts, you can skip right to that and not waste your time. Now these crafts are not going to be ultra expensive, however they are also not going to be ultra profitable either. These gloves are very deterministic to craft for the most part, the only RNG being the tiers of the mods that you get. So if you get high tiers, you make big profit, if you get low tiers, you break even. So this lesson will be more of an average learning one instead of any sort of insane profit crafting. But please remember that all the costs and trade listings that I show in this video are based on the time of recording and uploading and can change at any moment because of how volatile the economy and Path of Exile 2 is. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I answer every single comment, regardless if you think it's a dumb question or not. I will never think of it as a dumb question, and I will always answer every single one. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not subscribed, please do so. If you like the video, like it. If you dislike the video, dislike it. But that's enough yapping. Let's get crafting. To start, I will be working on the defense gloves first. I'm going to take every divine that I currently have, and I'm going to dump this into a random currency tab. And I'm only going to pick up 30 divs, and that is the only amount that I will use for the entire craft. So let's get into it. So to start, for the defense bases, you will need a glove that has the highest defense in the game. Now these will cost more or less depending on which defense type you're going for. So evasion in this case is only 4 div, ES is 13 div, but you need your base to be perfect. Do not go for anything less than the best bases if you're going for a pure defense glove. Now that you have your glove, you want to just hit it with a random transmute orb and then a random regal, and then we can begin with the craft. If you bought a rare glove, you would have to annul it down to 1 mod. If you bought a normal one, you can do that. But now, I'm going to be using some of those divines. So let's buy a few annuls. 7 annuls for 3 div. Sure, I won't need that many, but okay. Let's buy like 3 div worth of chaos orbs, so 99 chaos. And let's break 1 divine into exalts so that we can buy all the smaller stuff in between. Now that I have a good buffer currency to start with and 10 divines left over, annul that down to 1 modifier, and now we're going to be chaos spamming. I know, chaos spam, but it's not that bad. Let's see what we're trying to hit. Alright, so for any defense glove, you want all 3 of the defense tag prefixes on your item. So flat, percent, and the hybrid. Now the problem with the hybrid is that if you start with this on the base and you homogenize, it has a life tag. So if the homogenizing omen picks life, you will get life. The percent ES, the big one, is clean and nice, and this is what we're trying to be going for. The reason we don't want to go for flat ES is because the maximum tier of flat ES is modifier level 54. So when we use a perfect homogenizing omen in the end, we are guaranteed to get tier 1 ES. And we might get tier 2 or tier 1 of the hybrid, but that's okay. The main thing is to have tier 1 percent ES and tier 1 flat. Now the chances to get tier 1 percent ES are 1.5%, but I'll quickly show some simulations to show that it's not going to be that bad. However, the same thing does apply to every single defense base, so it doesn't matter if you're going for evasion ES, armor, whatever, it will always be the same. You will chaos spam for tier 1%, and then you will perfect exalt for tier 1 flat, and then you will get one of the 2 tiers of tier 1 hybrid or tier 2 hybrid. So these are the simulations. I ran 122,000 simulations to make sure that this is not going to be super painful. And it does take, on average, 153 chaos, which is around 5 div at the time of recording this, to hit the tier 1% ES. Now you could be super lucky and hit this in way less than 153 chaos, you could be unlucky and take even more than this, but this is the average. Like, keep that in mind. However, the good thing is once you hit this, you're good. You don't have to hit it again or anything. You just hit this and then you're basically done with the entire craft. So back in the game, you just want to type in increased in the search. That will make your item get highlighted the moment it hits increased anything. Now this can show increased attack speed or whatever, or increased ES recharge rate. Now I'm going to speed this part up because I don't want this to just be a yap session while I'm clicking chaos orbs. Hopefully I hit this in the 3 divs worth of chaos that I bought. I might need more, maybe I won't, let's see. Alright, there we go. Finally, I hit tier 1 ES. Now that took way more than the simulation showed, but that's good. I wanted to show myself getting unlucky so that you can see that you can either go based on what the simulation showed, or you could get unlucky and end up spending a little bit more, but it's okay. Now we can move on to the next step. I'm gonna break one more divine into Exalt so that I can use the Exalts to buy a perfect Exalt. There we go. 1 perfect Exalt for 1330x, 1 homogenizing omen, 1 omen of greater exaltation, and 1 prefix exaltation omen, so a sinister exaltation omen. And now that I have all of that, we can do the final step, well, basically the final hard step, which is... Alright, so omen of homogenized exaltation, an omen of greater exaltation, and an omen of sinistral exaltation. These 3 combined with a perfect exalt will hit 2 prefixes on your item, both being defense tags. This will give tier 1 flat ES and tier 1 or tier 2 of the hybrid ES. So, alright, so tier 1 as I said, and then tier 2 on the hybrid. That's okay. Slightly unlucky, but it is what it is. Okay, so now I have 4 divines left, which is exactly the amount I need for the last step. Now I don't need this many annuls at all, we just really need 1. So now we are going to be buying the essences and other omens that we need. So we need 2 omen of dextral crystallizations. We need 1 essence of horror for 3 divines. Going to quickly sell the 2 annuls because I'm going broke. That's actually wrong, you don't need 2 omen of dextral crystallizations, you only need 1 of them. It's my bad. Well, now I have an extra one. But now you are going to be using a normal exalted orb to just slam in 1 random suffix. You don't need to use a suffix omen or anything. The only open mods are suffixes. Just slam a random one in there. And then you want to use an omen of dextral crystallization with an essence of horror. This will delete that suffix and give you guaranteed 100% increased effect of targeted items. Now you have one thing to consider. So the next step, the item currently has defense and life tags on its prefixes. So these are the mods over here, and it has socket effect on the suffix, which has no tag. So if you homogenize right now, we can hit any of these bad suffixes on the item, and you don't want to do that. So you will first desecrate the item with an ancient rib, and you want to try to hit any resistance mod. So any one of these 3 resistances you want to hit on the item first. So if you hit any of those, fire, cold, lightning, or even chaos, where's chaos? Chaos. you're happy. So if you hit one of these resistances and then you homogenize the item, you are guaranteed, or well, not guaranteed, but like you have a fairly high chance to get another resistance, because then you have defense tags on the prefix, sure, and you have this one life tag, sure, but then you have 3 tags over here: elemental, fire, or resistance, or elemental cold or resistance, or elemental whatever or resistance, or chaos and resistance. If your homogenizing omen selects any of these tags, you are guaranteed to get another resistance mod. But if it selects a defense tag, you'll get ES recharge. If it selects life, you will get a bad mod. So, however, I know this sounds pretty bad, like, oh no, is this a pure RNG slam? What happens if it breaks? Well, I've ran simulations for that too, and it's basically a 1 in 3. Okay, you have roughly a 50% chance to succeed. It is a little less than 50%, that is why it's showing this as a 1 in 3, but it's almost very close to a 50-50 if you get a resistance mod when you homogenize, or if you get a defense tag mod, or if you get a life tag mod. Okay, so it's fully 50-50, so just keep that in mind. If you do hit some other bad mod, there is unfortunately no way to fix it affordably. You'll have to suffix annul, which I do not recommend doing at all. It's just 50-50. Good luck and hope that you hit a good res. That is why these gloves can be potentially quite profitable in the end. If you hit a good res of a high tier on this step, it's great. If you don't, well, you're sad. That is why we're doing this with a greater exalted orb and not a perfect one, because this is an RNG step. You don't want to use a perfect and end up getting perfect exalted orb tier attack leech. That'll suck. A quick note, if you are doing this on an evasion rating base and you want to get deflection on your suffix, you will homogenize first before you desecrate the item. This is so that you use up all of those defense tags to try to hit deflection. You have a very high chance to hit it. I haven't run simulations on these, but there are 3 defense tag mods and 1 life tag mod, so you would have to get obscenely unlucky to hit the life tag and hit one of these life mods and not hit your deflection. So that's how you'll do that. You will get deflection first, and then you will desecrate a resistance or whatever the hell you want as your final mod then. Alright, so back in game, going to break my final divine for this craft into exalts, and then I'm going to buy an ancient rib. There we go. Going to buy 1 reroll omen, 1 homogenizing omen, 1 omen of dextral exaltation, and then 1 greater exalted orb. Alright, so nothing else to talk about here. This is the base. You wanna ancient rip this in this state, and then you wanna go hopefully unveil a resistance mod so that you can then homogenize it. Alright, in the Well of Souls, place your item in, activate the reroll omen, and then click reveal. What? That's not supposed to happen. Okay, so you're not supposed to get tier 2 resistances this easily on the unveil. You might even get super unlucky and not hit resistance at all on the first unveil. Or you might not hit a high tier 1, which is okay, but this is pretty lucky, so gonna toss it in. The unluckiness that I got on the Chaos Orb step, I regained that luck on this step. There we go, invisible floating gloves are back with tier 2 res. So now, all you have to do is homogeneous greater exalted orb this. You don't need the other omens, I messed that up, you don't need those. The only open slot here is the last suffix. So you homogeneous, greater exalt, and you try to see if you get that 50-50. Oh, there we go, I had 50-50. Nice. Alright, so that is basically it for the glove. I don't have armor straps, one moment. Okay, so to finish up the glove, just quality it up to 20, put in the defense runes, and let's see what the final ES number is. So it is 371. That is because it is very poorly divined. This could easily go above 400 ES if I divine this, but I would not recommend divining this at all unless you hit some good tiers of res or if you got triple tier ones. But there you go. I spent almost exactly 30 div on this. I think I have a little bit of currency left over in Exalts and some annuls. So overall, 30 div craft for these gloves. Now let's go see how much they are worth. Alright, so here we go. We have 12 results because not many people get double res on this base. So it's 50 div for a corrupted one. It's similar ES, higher tier res than I have. I've got tier 4, he has double tier 2. Almost the same ES. This guy has accuracy rating on his thing, which is pretty bad, but also around 50 div. I don't know how he got accuracy over there, but anyway. And this guy's selling for 95 div. This is never ever going to sell. These are just overpriced, so ignore these. But yeah, around 50. But even these 50 ones will be somewhat tough to sell sometimes because these bases again are just super simple to make and a lot of people know how to make them. So just know that. If I turn this down to like 35 res, if you didn't hit the 50-50, then this would be 30 div. This guy hit the Fizz Attack Leech, doing it in the exact same method. So 30 div, 35 div if you don't hit the correct resistance mods. But that's overall it. Again, these gloves don't sell for much or if at all. These are only for people who want to self-craft these, okay? So they don't have to go and buy them. You can see these gloves being up for 2 days, 3 days, because no one's buying them. People are crafting them themselves for the most part. Because again, it's super easy to do it yourself. So don't bother buying these. If you're gonna craft this, craft it for yourself, or try to craft this and try to hit high tiers, and then maybe you corrupt it for a third socket, and then you will absolutely sell for big profit. But overall, that is how you would do it. I still recommend if you do need some high defense gloves for your own builds, craft it this way. Don't buy it. If you're trying to profit craft doing this, just nah. I wouldn't recommend trying to profit craft gloves. They are way too common and easy to craft. So don't do that. Just craft them for yourself. And yeah, now I'm going to just get rid of these and we can do the other glove craft as well. And then in the end, I will be corrupting them to see if I can hit a third socket. Let's go. Alright, so same thing as the other craft. I'm going to pick up 30 divines only for the whole craft. Okay, so for your flat damage gloves, you don't really need to worry about which base you're getting. Just get a base that is going to be equipable by you, like it has enough dex requirements or ES requirements or evasion ES requirements, whatever. Do try to get a decent one, but you don't have to worry about it too much because you're not going to be scaling those defenses anyway. You're just trying to get one of these bases, and you can see that most of these on the medium end for evasion are just 400 exalts each. So real quick, going to break one of these divines into exalts, and then I'm going to pick up the base. Now do remember that this craft will apply the same way to all different bases. So if you're an evasion one, if you're evasion ES, if you're armor or whatever, if you want a flat damage glove, you can get it. Okay, so now that you have your glove, you will probably also buy this as a magic item because that's just the most common thing. So you'll regal this, and then you're going to be using some of those divines to get some annuls and some other currencies. So 1 div for 2 annuls. I'm overpaying, but that's fine. Around 2 divines worth of chaos orbs. Alright, now that we have our chaos orbs and we have our annuls, we are going to annul the item down 1 modifier and then move on to everyone's favorite part, which is going to be the chaos spam part. Let's get on that. So you are going to be chaos spamming for any one of these resistance mods or rarity of items. Those are the only 4 or 5 different modifiers you can go for. So any resistance, fire, cold, lightning, chaos, or rarity, and you are good to go. You cannot go for anything else, like attack speed for instance, because attack speed has the attack tag on it, and if you try to homogenize an item for your prefixes with an attack tag on it, that'll give you accuracy rating majority of the time. And that is really bad. You don't want that. So the only way to avoid that would be to either desecrate accuracy first and then homogenize, and then omen of light to remove the accuracy, and then replace it with something else. I don't agree with that approach. I feel that's way too expensive. So instead, you just ditch attack speed so that you can get the rest of the mods fairly easily, make the overall craft much cheaper, and just go about doing it that way. So these are the simulations to try to Chaos Orb spam for any resistance mod or rarity, and it's quite easy. You will hit one of those mods every 43 chaos or so, which is roughly 1.4 divines to hit it, which is pretty easy. And once you hit it, you're completely safe. You don't have to do anything else. You can just homogenize and you're essentially just done with the entire craft. Now, you can get lucky or unlucky. So if you don't hit it in 43 chaos, you might have to spend a little bit more. You might hit it in 1 chaos. You might get the most unlucky possible and hit it in 344 chaos. But that is like very, 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 very unlucky. In 122,000 simulations, that was the costliest one. So if you're this unlucky, seek help. Alright, so in the game, now we're going to start chaos spamming. Now I'm going to speed this part up again until the item lights up and shows me some nice, good, beautiful res mods or rarity. So I'll see you when that happens. Well, I just finished my sentence, didn't have to speed anything up. This didn't highlight properly. I guess I should have changed this to just found, right? Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, there's lightning res. So lightning res is actually the best one to hit because when we go over here, the lightning tag will basically make it super, super easy to get lightning damage on the prefix, which is one of the most desired mods. So physical damage is the best one, lightning damage is second best, and fire and cold are the third and fourth best. Alright, now to get some omens that we're going to be needing. So we need 2 prefix crystallization omens. So that is omen of sinistral crystallizations. We need 1 omen of sinistral exaltation. We're gonna get 2, I guess. They're so cheap. Need 1 omen of greater exaltation. It's 1 for 21 now? What is going on with the price of this omen? Is someone duping these? Why are there so many of them? Gotta break 1 more divine real quick, just for some more exalts. And then we're gonna buy 1 essence of hysteria for 585x. And then 1 essence of horror for 3 divines. And then 1 perfect exalt for 2 divines. And then 1 homogenizing omen for 98 exalts. Alright, now that we have everything, we are going to first use the omen of sinistral exaltation with an omen of greater exaltation to slam 2 random prefixes on the item. It doesn't matter which these ones are, because now we're going to use our 2 omen of sinistral crystallizations to change those 2 prefixes to be 100% socket effect on the suffix and then crit damage bonus on the suffix. So this completely fixes and finishes our suffixes and you don't have to worry about them at all. So the next step will involve the homogenizing part. So you need your homogenizing omen, you need a greater exaltation, and you need a perfect or a greater exalt. Let's see. The perfect or greater exalt is something you need to consider for yourself. If I check this to be greater exalt modifier levels, you can get up to tier 5 all the way down to tier 1. So you can hit tier 5 modifiers, which is bad. And with perfect exalts, you will hit this up to tier 4 modifiers. So it's up to you if you want to spend the extra 2 divines to try to hit higher tier flat damages. Again, the only way you can make profit on these gloves is if you hit those high tiers of flat damage. However, the chances of hitting it are not that great even with a perfect exalt. So I would recommend to use a greater one to save some costs. However, for this video, will just use a perfect exalt to show that even with this, the chances to hit tier 1s or high tiers of flat are not that great. So here we go, homogenizing, greater exaltation, perfect exalt. I hit tier 4 and tier 3. So as you can see, even with the perfect, the item is nowhere near perfect. So because of those lower tier modifiers of fizz and lightning, this item in the end is not going to be worth much at all. It's going to be worth just barely break even, if anything. So that is the problem with trying to self-craft flat damage gloves. This craft, like the other one, is very common. So now you have to consider, do you want to use an ancient rib or do you want to use a normal rib for that final modifier? Now I'm going to use an ancient rib just for the hell of it, but if you did not hit good tiers of flat damage on your glove with the homogenizing step, then you will not be using an ancient rib at all. But I did, because whatever, but you will not. Okay, then grab your reroll omen, and now we can go and do the final step and be done with this dumbass craft that relies a bit too much on the RNG of those flat damage tiers. Alright, so here we are in the Well of Souls. Go up, make sure that your omen of rerolling is active and click reveal. Well, those are some really low tiers of flat damage. That is tier 4 cold damage and tier 4 fire damage. So that is basically pathetic. So I will try to roll over that and see if I can get a higher tier. I got shafted. So that is something that can happen. You might not see flat damage at all in your unveil. That is completely possible. As I said again, these gloves are super RNG reliant, and there's no way to fix the RNG of those tiers or the desecration without expensive open of light and annulls. So it is rough. That is why you should probably use a greater exalt to save some costs on the final item. But there you go. That's the item basically completely done. Nothing else you can do. I don't recommend divining this for anything. It's just, this is how it is. You can Omen of Light the modifier off and then try to go again. If you have tier 1s of the other flat damage types, then you want to Omen of Light your third Desecration and try to get a high tier flat damage on that as well. That would be pretty profitable. Otherwise, if you have this, literally just keep this and use it for yourself, or just sell this for a low price to try to recoup some losses. As I mentioned, this is not a profit craft. This is more so tailored to be a break even or just a craft for yourself type of lesson. To finish up the item, just pick up some Great Wolf's Runes of Claws. These are like 8 eggs for 2 of these. Put it in the item just to make it look a little bit more appealing with some extra flat damage on it. And then make sure it's qualityed up. And let's see how much this is worth now. Okay, so here we see 6 results of items with a resistance mod and the other modifiers with like 2 tiers of flat damage. So it's like 12 div, 19 div. These usually more than likely will not sell even with the res or anything. As you can see, it's listed a day ago. Even the 1 hour ago one is corrupted, and these are on bad basis. No one really wants these for themselves because they can just self-craft these and try to get better ones. Like my glove is literally bottom roll, like low tier flat damages, no third flat damage, so it's bad. But if you do hit the third flat damage with higher tiers, it can sell for a decent amount. Now it's not going to sell for 75 divines. It's not going to be that way for a bad base too. So this guy's briefing, but it can sell for like 30 to 40 divines if you do get high tiers of flat damage on a decent base with good res or rarity on it as well. So there you have it. I crafted this with a total of 12 divines. I have 18 divines left. I started with 30, and I have quite a few chaos orbs left and a few exalts left. So overall, pretty cheap to do this yourself. Especially if you don't use perfect exalts, it'll be even cheaper. You might not save up as much on chaos orbs if you get unlucky on first step, but this is what you should expect. And that is the overall craft. I want to repeat one more time that I do not recommend doing this for profit. This is more so to do for yourself. If you don't want to buy gloves off of trade and you want to try your luck at spending the same amount to try to potentially get something way better, you can do that. But now I'm going to be corrupting these and the other gloves to see if I can hit a third socket. So let's do that. Okay, so I didn't realize I stopped recording and I corrupted the ES gloves that I crafted in the beginning, and they got absolutely nuked. It destroyed the flat ES and it removed one of the resistance mods and replaced it with Dex. This is a full bricked wall. We're not going to talk about this one. This is just for the graveyard. It is dead. It is gone. Bye-bye. But these gloves, these are still very much alive. And let's try to hit a third socket with this while orb. Let's do this. So 3, 2, 1, boom. Who saw it? Did anyone see it? Who saw it? Oh. I mean, lightning pen is the best kind of pen it could have hit. Like, it is the most relevant for this base. I don't think it's gonna raise the price of it at all. It's gonna lower the price because it's now corrupted, so no one else can corrupt this for a third socket. But hey, wasn't trying to make anything off of that anyway, that was just for fun. Alright, so that is the end of this video. I hope you guys learned a thing or two or found it fun to watch. I want to repeat one more time that this lesson was not to be a profit crafting guide. It was just a generic crafting guide for people to learn how to craft their own gloves without having to pay the trade site prices, because the trade site prices are basically the same amount that you're going to be spending anyway for the baseline glove. So you can instead just craft it yourself. Maybe you hit high tiers and you make big profit, or you just get yourself a way better glove, or you low roll or min roll like I did and just use the glove that you made with no profits or no losses, just break even. So that's all. That'll be all from me. Now go out there and cause some chaos. Bye-bye. And a big shout out and thank you to all my patrons: Marcus, Axel Jacobs, Bridgeburner, Sebi2K, and the new one, Creative Extent. Thank you all for your support. It is unreal and I really appreciate it, as well as the one guy who does not want to be named. Thank you too, and I'll see you all next time.